Quincy Olivari'S in an epic challenge game, and JJ Redick's first win with the Lakers. Hey guys, this is Guilherme, the owner of the channel, and today we're going to dive into a decisive moment for the team. Quincy Olivari'S was simply incredible, in a breathtaking performance that guaranteed JJ Redick's first win as Lakers coach. You can't miss the details of this comeback. Want to know how it all happened? Come with me because this story will keep you hooked from start to finish. And let's get to today's news, but first, just make sure you're already subscribed to the channel, because the next videos will be a series of content that will help you stay informed about everything related to the Lakers. Turn on the notification bell and select the all option. After that, we'll send you everything breaking that comes out behind the scenes of the Lakers. Lakers fans, we have a goal of 45 likes to hit on this video. In the last video, we hit the goal in less than an hour. Prove that you are Lakers fans and leave a like so we can hit this goal soon. The Lakers finally secured their first win in the preseason, and with that, JJ Redick also got his first win as a head coach. Of course, this doesn't count towards the regular season, but it's always good to see a win on the scoreboard, especially for the young players who are trying to establish themselves and for the veterans who are working on building chemistry. And, without a doubt, it was also important for Redick, who is taking his first steps as a coach. The game was very balanced, with ups and downs throughout the game, especially regarding the transition defense, which still needs to be adjusted. However, the highlight was the last quarter, when the young talents really showed their worth, with Quincy Alvarado leading the charge. He finished the game with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, all of this in the fourth quarter alone. It was incredible to see him hit some tricky shots, including a step back and a pull-up three-pointer in transition. Even though it's only preseason, it's clear that Quincy is doing everything he can to secure his spot on the roster. He's currently on a 10-day exposure contract, which means he's not officially a part of the team's top 15 players yet. However, that kind of contract allows him to compete for a two-way spot, which could put him on the roster on a more permanent basis. With just 2 preseason games remaining, Quincy's time to prove himself is running out, and the team will obviously prioritize players who are already part of the core rotation. Despite his solid performance today, it's hard to imagine that this will be enough to get him into the top 15. He'd have to pass the likes of Christian Coco or Colin Castleton, which, let's face it, is no easy feat. Still, we can't take away from what Quincy did tonight. It was a memorable game, and he definitely earned the attention of the Lakers fans. Now he's no longer just number 41 on the court. Quincy Alvarado has made his name remembered. Look, even though it's just the preseason, it's encouraging to see someone like Quincy Alvarado hitting 4 of 6 shots from the field and 3 of 4 from three-point range, all in about 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. It's an impressive performance, no doubt. But beyond Alvarado, there are other things that deserve to be highlighted about the team. One of the negative aspects that stood out to me was their transition defense. I've already talked about it on a live broadcast, and honestly, it was disappointing. Although they did very well on offensive rebounds, they got 17, which is more than double their regular season average. The team struggled to transition to defense. This volume of offensive rebounds is definitely a positive, even if some of those came in the fourth quarter, when the starters were already on the bench. Either way, it's good to see them fighting in the paint and looking for second chances. However, the problem begins when, by focusing so much on dominating offensive rebounds, they neglect to return to defense. This was very clear, and it is something that the team needs to fix urgently. There is no point in capturing so many rebounds if you are not prepared to defend on the other side of the court. The Milwaukee team took advantage of these failures and scored many points in transition, or forced situations of misalignment in the Lakers' defense in the half court, complicating things even more. At times, it seemed like the team simply could not reorganize itself defensively. Now, on the positive side, in addition to the offensive rebounds, I liked the efficiency in three-point shots. The spacing of the court in general worked well, even if there were some moments of disorganization, especially when they opted for a lower formation, with Haz playing as a pivot. I'm not saying that it was a bad formation choice, but the spacing was compromised, and the offense ended up stagnant on some possessions. Ultimately, there are important points to be adjusted, such as this transition defense, but there are also positive aspects to highlight, such as aggressiveness in rebounding and three-point shooting. Now, it's about balancing these so that the team is more cohesive when the regular season actually starts. I think the choice of formation will depend a lot on how the opponents present themselves. Defensively, in some possessions, the team managed to do well, but offensively, the chemistry didn't flow as it should, and this ended up harming the spacing and the good three-point shots that they had been able to achieve. The team finished with 31.8% success in three-point shooting, but the start of the game was very promising. In the first quarter, for example, they made 5 three-pointers, with Christie converting both of his attempts. LeBron made 2 of 4, and Hachimura was 2 of 5, which yielded 6 shots in the starting lineup alone. This is a great sign, although Anthony Davis left with 0 attempts on 4 attempts. The most important thing is that he keeps trying and gaining confidence, because if the team wants to continue with this strategy of using 2 big men, Davis will need to convert those shots. From the bench, Dolan Connect also had his moments, hitting 2 of 5 three-pointers in the first half. However, in the second half, he didn't keep up the same pace and ended up missing all 5 attempts. I think the defensive effort and the fight for rebounds, which yielded 8 for him, may have worn down his energy, which influenced his performance. Still, you can't fault him in this regard, as he showed a lot of dedication. Gabe Vincent, on the other hand, continued to be solid, going 2 of 4 on his three-point attempts. And what's more interesting is that, so far in the preseason, he's shooting 50% from 3, having converted 5 of 10 attempts. That's a significant jump compared to last season, when he only played 11 games and was still dealing with injuries. Seeing Vincent healthy and confident is one of the highlights of this preseason. For me, the big takeaway here was seeing how Gabe Vincent, Christie, and the spacing provided by the 2 big formations really brought more dynamism to the game. And going back to Quincy Olivari'S, who also made an important contribution, it was great to see how he, along with the other young players, drove the team in the fourth quarter. Both he and other players finished with a 20-plus point lead on the court in the fourth quarter, which shows the impact and seriousness with which they approach the game. Ultimately, the team has potential and promising moments, but there is still a lot to adjust before the regular season begins. Although it is just preseason, for many players, every minute on the court means much more. This was clear with Quincy Olivari'S, who received a lot of praise from his teammates after one of these games. Reich, in particular, commented on the energy and dedication he brings, which earned him everyone's respect. When I saw the first reactions on social media, especially that tweet, I couldn't help but laugh. It's always funny when players find themselves in situations like this, but it's also a way to recognize how much they love the game. Olivari'S has said in interviews that he has been playing 2K since the days of 2K1, and this ended up connecting with the jokes that emerged on Twitter about him being the MP, main character of the story mode. Even close friends, such as Caleb Riley and Raymond, sent messages encouraging Olivari'S to seize the moment and capitalize on this popularity. But what stood out most was his attitude of taking it all in good humor, even planning a special photo with LeBron to play on the idea of who's number 41, a number he's trying to use as a personal brand. Most interesting of all is Quincy's mindset about court time, especially in the fourth quarter, which is typically reserved for young players. He made it clear that for him, there's no such thing as garbage time. Every second counts. Every possession is an opportunity to prove yourself. And that reflects a truth that players like Ray Allen have said. Every time you step on the court, someone is watching you. Every moment is a chance to prove your place on the team. Whether it's in the preseason or in the playoffs, seeing the veterans supporting the youngsters, giving them tips, and celebrating their accomplishments reinforces that team culture. Whether it's 1 minute or 30, whether it's the preseason or the playoffs, dedication and commitment need to be present at all times. And Quincy Olivari'S showed just that, playing with passion and making it clear that he wants to earn his place. It's always interesting to see how some players can shine in moments that to many might seem unimportant. There are guys who earn a roster spot based on their performance in the summer league, training camp, or even in a preseason game. Sometimes they earn valuable minutes even in the so-called garbage time of a regular season game. I don't underestimate what this group did. In fact, it was truly impressive. One example that really stood out to me was Quincy. In that game, I felt like he completely changed the course of the game. After his performance, I told our guys, that's what we're asking of some players. He showed exactly what we expect from his position. Energy, presence all over the court, and that ability to disrupt opponents. He knew how to use the shot clock to the fullest, which is something we've been looking for. A lot of players have been challenged to do that, and some have done it well to some extent, but what Quincy did that night really stood out. Speaking of Olivari'S, I was right there in the corner of the court, and you could see how Quincy was impacting the game. Every time he pressed, you could see how it threw LeBron off his usual rhythm, and those little things make all the difference. It shows how committed he is to what he does. One interesting thing about Quincy is that he has a background in cross-country running, which explains his consistently impressive fitness. When we did our conditioning drills in August and September, he was always ahead of the game, winning almost every race. And when we moved on to shooting practice, he consistently scored the highest. Not only does he take the game very seriously, but he also makes sure to execute whatever task the coaching staff asks of him to the best of his ability. That dedication is what we call the care factor, the desire to do everything the right way. He's always focused on getting better, contributing to the team, and absorbing whatever insight we present to him. That's what makes us excited to have him on the show. As a coaching staff, we think very highly of him. Watching Quincy play like that in the fourth quarter was inspiring, to say the least. You know, that level of effort, that defensive intensity, it really motivates you. Throughout the league, you see players who can, with sheer energy and dedication, elevate the entire team, and that's exactly what Quincy did that night. He, along with the entire group on the court, played with incredible energy, and it had a huge impact. What makes this situation even more special is the fact that Quincy is on an Exposure 10 contract, which means he's not yet guaranteed a roster spot. We know how hard it is to get a fully guaranteed contract in the NBA, so of course you root for guys like him even more. I think we all want our young guys to do well, but it's even more rewarding to see someone like Quincy find joy in doing what many would call the little things. And when those little things lead to greater success, it's even more satisfying. I've been there, I've played in the league, and I know exactly what it takes for someone in his position to get a steady job. You have to give it your all. Literally everything. He put a lot of energy into a short period of time, and I think he felt the impact of that. The big key now is to keep that intensity going for longer to be able to sustain that level of commitment. But in the beginning, that's it. Give it your all, get on the court, fit in, and find where you can make a difference. In the fourth quarter specifically, Quincy was running the floor, forcing turnovers, hitting threes. And as I watched the veterans stand up and applaud, the only thing going through my mind was, keep going, keep going. As someone who always brings energy, I knew going into the game that I had to be at my best, especially after being on the bench and rested. And so, with the energy soaring, the entire bench started to rise as well. My focus was on securing Coach Redick's first win because we had come so close before. Seeing Quincy shine that night was proof that with dedication and effort, you can really change a game, and maybe even your career. When we got to the third or fourth quarters in the last two games, it seemed like the pace slowed down, and that bothered me. So when I stepped onto the court, I decided to give it everything I had to put us in the best position possible to win. I knew this was the moment to make a difference. You mentioned my cross-country background, and that really resonates with who I am as an athlete. Since I was 12, I've been running with a group in Atlanta called Movers and Pacers. My dad introduced me to it, and I quickly realized that running came naturally to me. The cool thing is that not only was it a great way to get in shape, but it was also a way to spend time with him, running around downtown Atlanta and taking in the city. Over time, I realized that this endurance, this discipline, was translating directly to basketball. I could run nonstop, and my coach would always tell me, if you want to make it in the NBA, you have to be in top shape. That stuck with me. When I decided to focus 100% on basketball at 16, I kept that mindset, to be the most physically fit player on the court. Now, being alongside guys like Gabe Vincent, who has an incredible story of overcoming obstacles, is a unique opportunity. He went undrafted. He had to work hard to get where he is, and that inspires me. I recently asked him what it was like playing under Eric Spoelstra, what it's like to work with Jimmy Butler, and how he managed to fit into the Heat culture. What he said to me is something that resonates deeply. It takes everything you've got. Every detail matters. Every effort counts. And that makes me reflect a lot on my journey. You know, I'm very curious. I'm always asking questions of the veterans. The things I can learn from LeBron, AD, D'Lo, and Gabe are immense. I can't let this opportunity pass me by. When Coach Emmy tells me that I can be like Gabe Vincent, that we have similar characteristics and that I can follow a path like his, that motivates me even more. My goal is to absorb as much knowledge as possible and continue to evolve, taking every opportunity to improve and prove myself. These moments with the team, these conversations, all of this shapes who I am on the court, and I know that to achieve what they have achieved, I will need to continue giving everything I have, more and more. Thank you for watching this far. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the next content, access our playlist now that will appear on the screen, or in the pinned comment with all the latest news and updates from the Lakers, and stay up to date with the behind-the-scenes, highlights, last-minute controversies, transfers, everything about the Los Angeles Lakers team. Until the next video.